Okay, so now we continue to review what we discussed recently. So again, uh, I like to go over briefly about the requirements uh, for your writing, and I have explained before. Please read the written response rubrics and the guideline for you to write the written response properly. And now I want to show with you some sample of my former student. They make some mistake, so I hope that you would not have that type of similar mistake. So I give you the sample. Uh, okay, let me open the other one here. For example, so the student here, they don't put any names. They don't put uh, any biography. They don't have any in-text citation, and this is just a single space. I need double space so that I can give you the comment. So that's why this student got lesser points. And here I will highlight the content of their writing. You see that they have only 190 words instead of 300 words. So that means I will divide 190 to 300 and time with 10. So you can see by having uh, only 190 words, so now they have only 6.3 points. And of course, on the top that I would subtract uh, that they don't have double space. They don't have inside uh, uh, wording. They don't have biographies. Uh, so they don't have in-text citation. That's what I mean. Okay, so I want to share with you this uh, one example to file. Okay, another one I want to share with you is this. It's not the sample for the paper, and here uh, the spelling, and here they put quotation, but they don't have any citation for any paper, whether it's uh, future report, analyst paper, or green responses. So here, I want to show you this. So you have to put the citation for this. Okay, there's another sample. One sample topic and structure. You see, this is the highlight from the Turnitin. It's a percentage of similarities. This is the color. 1, 2, 3, that they march from Tennant inside. So, for example, number 3, they have 11%, and number 2, they have 14%, and number 1, they have 14%. So that's why you need to, okay, this is number 1 here. This is a topic. You need to rewrite everything in your writings. You need to replace the word in your writings, not to cut and paste on the paper. And I will take off, for example, this one is 40% in total. So 40% of the topic and structure. And we subtract to that 40% of this type of similarity. So no, last one, please pay attention. Another one is here. This is from Turnitin. So here they have 47%. So the student pick up or use this paper from this site, from internet. So I will cut off 47% from the rate, the total rate of this paper. You see how they put the whole paragraphs here. So please remember, you need to replace everything in your own words. Otherwise, you would not have much credit for that. Okay. All right. So from time to time, I will talk about that more. So let's go back to week 1. We talk about the ancient India and the life of the Buddha, as well as Ashoka, the Buddha supporters. Okay, so let me go back to the file, the ancient India. Okay. So India geographical setting. So Himalayan mountains are in the north, Ghats mountains in east and west. So India is a subcontinent plateau. And so monsoon seasonal winds with rain in India. So India have many rivers, but there are 2 main rivers: the Ganges River and Indus River. And here you can see. So at first, start with the Indus Valley civilization, the first settlement in 3000 BCE. So when the farmers sailed out along the Indus Valley rivers, is right here, and they developed what we call the 2 large city of India civilization, the Harappa and Mohenjo. You can see this is 2 main city here along the Indus river that they what we call the Indus Valley civilization. Okay, here's the Harappas and Mohenjo. By the time of 2500 BC, the entire regions was dominated by these two cities. And here, what the demand of these two uh, uh, civilized city, and here is the uh, civilization affect to the nearby area. So they trade with the Iran and neighboring regions in India to the east, and they trade with the Persia Gulf and Sumer to the west. So that's here. And for the political structure, they have the villages, cities, um, which were never politically united, but they share common language and culture. And so this is very similar to Mesopotamia and China. So the region was united only by trade, and they have the writing system of this seal. So these are the sample, and the trading seal. Writing developed from early trading seal, which had the merchant's name and the symbol of trade items. Like this here, you can see those sample, and here they have the peaceful items like toy jewelry. So the toy cow with moldable head and jewelry made of gold, upgrades, jasper, and garnet. And they do what we call the wheel technology between 2300 to 2200 BCE. And this is standard weight and measurements based on the ratio of 1/16 to this weight and measurement. And the first civilization to cut away the cotton and make cotton clothing here in this area. So they create the first matrilineal society. That means female-led society. And the city has what they call the sewer system because they have the bath. And that was the essential part of their religion. So when they came to the religious center, they need to take a bath. So that's why they create this kind of bathing place for them. And here they have what we call the red bath tanks that were used for purification of the body and soul. So where they came down to take a bath. And religious beliefs were centered on the idea of afterlife. So the bodies were filled with the personal items. You can see the skeleton and other artifacts. And Hum Bak Bua symbolized the leader that strong and strength that protect the people. And the priests, they have this symbol that meditate in yogic style to become connected with their own God here. And so around 1500 BC, the Indus culture were conquered by the Aryan, and the one that came from the Far East to conquer that area. And they were nomadic people who migrated into the Indus valleys from Central Asia. So they introduced iron and the horse carried to India, like here. And here, the new iron ideas, they established what we call new government system, but they have no complex structure. They only look in plans They were ruled by war chiefs. They call Raja. So here is along India. So the Aryan tribes settled in different regions of northwestern India. So the tribes were called Ghana. That's been collection of people. So the chief of each tribes um, took the job as the hereditary job. So they have the final say on decision, but they need to listen to communities of people. And so they develop what we call the Sanskrit Hindi uh, as the new language, as well as the literatures. So they brought with them what we call Vedas and the book of knowledge. So and they are the connection of poems and sacred hymns composed around 1500 BC that describes the belief and daily life of the Aryan people. So again, between 1500 to 1000 BC, that was called the Vedic period. And these were two iron epics and what we call Ramayana and the Mahabharata. So these two epics were composed around 1000 BC. So they are the stories about Iron life and the war during that period of time. So that's why from 1000 to 500 BC is called the epic period. So the Ramayana tell the story that a good king Rama killed the evil king of the Iron uh, Ravana. So they have a new education system. So basically, a guru teach the children. So every student, including the chieftain, have to follow the guru or the teachers. So for the education system based on uh, verbal or oral teaching. Um, so they are really rich choices, and they have the new marriage traditions. So after a female got married, she got a red dot in the forehead. So let's go back to the Aryan traditions of having a groom apply a spot of his blood onto his bride forehead. So that is the sign of marriage. So when the Aryan moved to India, they want to control the local people. That's why they create the social uh, hierarchies, what we call the caste system. So in the caste system, um, they let me see here. The caste system they do what we call the first class. That's the Brahmin. That's mean the priest class, the highest class. And the second one is the uh, royal class, the one that control politics around the country. And the third is the merchant class, of business people, uh, working people. And the last one is the slave class that serve the order of um, three classes, and later on they have what they call untouchable class too. We will study later on. So basically, when we talk about Hinduism, so the origin of this tradition are unknown, going back to the early Bronze Neolithic period. So basically, Hinduism was not inspired by a single individual or event. To its combination of all uh, many um, religions, beliefs, traditions, God, and ancient India. So even there's many types of gods, but in Hinduism, they still consider uh, Brahman is the supreme God, and of course, is it's considered as the polytheistic belief, but still um, they consider uh, the most supreme God as Brahman, and basically they have three um, main deities: the Brahma, the creator; Vishnu, the preserver; and Shiva, the destroyer. And Krishna was the ancient god of the Aryans, so he's believed to be an early prince who obtained nirvana. Mm. So the fundamental belief of India of Hinduism is that there's no set of dogma. Uh, so actually, Hinduism is a set of beliefs with many different uh, principle theories, and basically they don't have any founders. Mm. So go back the Upanishad. This the literature is composed between 800 to 500 BC. This was written by in Sanskrit, which provides several concepts fundamental to Hinduism. So in Hindu term, this or some term like Dharma has been set up religious or ethical duties or responsibilities of Hindu people, and karma, the effect of activities of it Atman. So Atman, this is the soul of each individual, and samsara, that's been the incarnation, the soul paths through a series of body from one lifetime to other. It goes samsara, and they still have the idea of nirvana. Has been the release from worldly life, and also the unification with the universal spirit has been the Brahman. So, according to Hinduism, a life cycle of especially a male one, when they were young, they will be educated by a Hindu guru. So when they get in older, they will establish their families. They lead their families in the ways of Hinduism, and later on, they will uh, sell down their family matters when they get in older, so that they can have times to reflect on the Hindu teaching, as well as to find ways how to break the cycle of bad karma. So that's why they may let go of their families to go to the forest or mountain to do meditation, so that they could uh, uh, have connection with the universal spirit that's been their Brahman, so that they can attain what we call nirvana, breaking the cycle of life and become one with universal spirit. That's their goal. So by the 7th century, personal prayer displayed the sacrifice of animals. So again, it may have some influence from Buddhism, that they established these temples and shrines with house statue and pictures of God. So sometimes they still use the cape. So later on, Hinduism spread to the other South Asia um, countries like Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand. But up to now, they still have some popularities too. So how Hinduism spread to Southeast Asia. So they use military powers, culture transmitted through trade, and the Brahmin priests could be invited by local Southeast Asia ruler. Uh, and when we talk about the caste system, so they were a collection of um, 1028 verses of poetry that called Rig Vedas that talk about the original caste system. This also provide the reason for this caste system. And here again, like I mentioned recently, that they based on this social division of the caste system to divide people. So the first one is the Brahmin, that's mean the priest, or the leaders. Uh, and the second one is the Kashya, that's mean warrior or royal class. And the third is the Vaishya, the merchant Buddhist people. And the fourth is Shudra, that's mean the farmers or the slave. And the last one is untouchable or non-iron people. So each iron types in this the tribes people belong to one of the first four groups. So they work depend upon the social status, and they um, were classified in those caste system, and they cannot change their social status. Um, so it's impossible for them to change. So again, this Greek Vedas provide the religious justification to social system to separate people by the occupation and ethnicity. So it's more than uh, 2,000 years. This caste system uh, became extreme rigid, unequal, and uh, hierarchies. So there's no intermarriage among those caste system, uh, and the education was limited to the upper class only. So they put the reason why they have this caste system because they want to control the mass, especially the upper class of the Brahmin, the priests. They want to control um, politics. They want to control the economic system. Um, so it was imposed by a coalition of priests and warrior kings to maintain the control over the public, the people. So it was created as an alternative to open slavery. So there's a basic information about ancient India as well as Hinduism. Mm. So uh, the next one, let's move on to uh, the life of Buddha. As during this week, we talk about. Uh, so uh, the Buddha was born into what we call the Shakya clans of Hindu region in India. So you see here the Kapilavastu here, and this is in the northern part of India, and this part Lumini were uh, the Buddha was born now belong to Nepal. Um, so the Shakya clans, they form as an independent republican state. So they have their capitals in Kapilavastu. Um, so this system of administration is adopted by Constitution of India uh, later on too. So here is the place where the Buddha was born. Um, uh, okay, so um, the Buddha was born in this Shakyan clans, and his prince name is Siddhartha. So of course he was founder of Buddhism. Later on, he was known as Gautama Buddha. So he was son of Suddhodana, um, who was elected as the leader of Second Republic. Mm. So according to most traditions, Buddha was born into that royal Hindu family, uh, and he was the son of Queen Maya, uh, who was a Korean princess. So it said that before he was born, his mother's Queen Maya had a dreams that a white elephant enter her right side of the body, and later on she wake up and told the king. So the king invite some um, mm, Brahmins to give the petition for his future son. And so uh, there were 8 of them that were invited into the courts to give the petition. So all of them would say that the future prince uh, would become what they call the wheel turner. That's mean the red king, but only one mentioned that later on he would uh, let go of his luxury life of the prince to seek for the truth and eventually to attain Buddhahood, to become Buddha. And so here's in Nepal. Here the Lumbini. Lumbini is where the Prince Siddhartha was born. Here, and it say that when Queen Maya got pregnant, and when it's time for her to give uh, birth, so she asked her husband permission to go back to visit her parents. That's just the traditions. But on the way to Lumbini, she stopped by at this place and gave birth to Prince Siddhartha. That's just why they established here, the stupa here. Mm. And this the place where he was born. And later on, King Ashoka erected this pillar to indicate where the Buddha was born. Now it's still exist in India, and here um, they indicate or found the exact birthplace of Gautama Buddha right here in Nepal, Lumbini. So it say that uh, when he grew up, he developed as a compassionate and wise child. And so, according to the legend, they say that when he was about only 10-year old, so one day when he went together with his fathers as a king to attend the plow ceremony with the farmers. Somehow he took up and sat under the trees to enter the first stage of meditative state of mind. So later on, his father walked around and they could not uh, find him. So eventually, they approached to that trees and found that he sat on that tree to do meditation. Uh, so he at that time he contemplate while he was sitting there. He contemplate the cycle of life. That when the farmers uh, plow the earth and the birds catch the worms. That means the big beans um, mm, kill the little one, and that's how life is about. And one of the story to illustrate how compassionate he was, he rescued a swan that was shot down by his cousin Devadatta. And when he getting older, you see the scene here. His father had read mm, uh, three palaces for him: the winter, and the fall, and the summer for him to enjoy his life, with the purpose of keeping him back to the secular life. So here, so the king, his father Suddhodana, provide him all kind of entertainments to keep him in the palace, so that eventually he could become the next king. That's what his father hoped. But somehow later on, mm, at the age of 19, he got married and mm, he requests um, his father's permission to go out to visit the city. So when he went out to visit the city, he saw the four sides. The first one is the sick person. The second, the old man. The last one is the dead person. But the last time he saw was the Hindu monk. So here we need to understand that, like has been uh, recently, that in Hindu traditions, for the male, for a man, when he was young, he stayed with his parents. When he getting older, he established his own families, business, and so forth. But when he approaching to his old age, he need to let go of material life to become a medicant, to seek for the truth, to break the cycle of life and death. So that's why when the Prince Siddhartha went out with his servant, he saw this mendicant, Hindu monk. So that's where his thought to uh, get out the birth cycle, and that's a common themes of all the Asian, most Asian religions uh, mm, principle that one should uh, cultivate the spiritual path to cut off the birth cycle. Of course, every tradition has different path to follow, and here this is the image that depicts how he recognized the life cycle. Mm. And so, with that kind of scene, he made the decision to leave everything behind. Even he just got a son, Rahula. So he made decision to uh, leave them behind and go for the spiritual path. So he escaped. He get out of his palace at night with his servant. Uh, so both of them rode to the forest, and after that he cut off his hair and get back to his servant so that his servant could bring back everything to his fathers and families in the palace. And so later on, he decided to practice um, self mortification, that means self torture, for 6 years. And this image that illustrates that he passed for many days without eating much, but uh, he has 5 companions from his country to follow him, uh, and somehow later on he recognized that he need to go to the middle path. That means he's not supposed to indulge in entertainments, a luxury life, or enjoyment of the sense. That one pole. Another pole is not to torture his body to the extreme way. So that's here you see that even this kind of practice, self-torture, still exists in India nowadays. So later on, he make decision that he will let go or walk away from this kind of practice to go to the middle path. So when he got the offerings from a young lady, the Raisup, he ran his strength to sit under the Bodhi trees, such as here, and he made the vows to mm, sit there until his enlightenment. And of course, he has all kind of demonic challenges that they came to test his will or destroy his determination, but he still cope with his determination to practice. So a condolation is say that Mara is the god of death, uh, send all kind of armies to disturb Buddha, but eventually he won all of the challenges internally and externally to become Buddha, enlightened Buddha. So here is the place you see that where he sat under the Bodhi trees to attain enlightenment. And later on, this what we call Maha Bodhi Stupa was erected or built by King Ashoka to indicate where the Buddha attained enlightenment. And here, that's the great stupa. And here's the Bodhi tree. You can see that here's the Bodhi trees. That where the Buddha sat under to attain enlightenment. Actually, this is not original trees. And that's the third generation trees. Okay, so this is here. And is the Bodhigaya where he attained enlightenment. This is where nowadays millions of Buddhist people from everywhere come to visit this place as the most sacred or holy place of Buddhism. You see here, there's the Bodhi tree, they protect it, and that's the place where the Buddha sat in enlightenment. And he sat there, or he stayed around there for another 4 days after his enlightenment. And one of the week, once seven kings cover his hook for the Buddha when it was raining rabbits high that Bodhi tree. And so later on, he made decision to go and teach his 5 companions. So let me share with you here. Okay, I will show you the map so that you can get the idea. Okay, let's see here. You can get the idea where the Buddha gave the teaching, where he. Let me go back here quick. Okay. Yeah. So let me go back here. Okay. See, some map will show the route that the Buddha walk around to give the teaching. Probably this one is much easy, and I think I showed you before too. Yeah, you can see this. So the Buddha was born in Lumbini of the second class. The capital is Kapilavastu. After he left his palace, he went to the forest and around this area to practice procedure, the self-torture. And later on, he went to Bodh Gaya, right here, to sit under that Bodhi tree to attain Buddhahood. And after he attained Buddhahood to become Buddha, so he went here. He went to Rajnasi, Sanat, to give the first teaching to the 5 companions. And he taught Four Noble Truths and 8 Four Paths for them. This is where Sanat or Deer Park, and that is the first Sangha monastic communities that he ever developed, created. And so from that time on, many people follow him. And this image that's talk about one of his previous life. He lie down on the mud. He spread his hair on the mud so that the uh, uh, former Buddhas, the Buddha in the past, work on his hair, and that Buddha gave him prediction that he would become Buddha's future. That's what is about. He attained enlightenment to become Buddhas, as we call Shakyamuni Buddha. Mm, And, and from that time on, so many people follow him. The local people, the men, uh, the male. That's where he started the first uh, sangha of Buddhist communities with these 5 monks, and later on he accept many men into the sangha, into the Buddhist monastic communities. It's high here, and his monastic communities grown day by day. And here, even there's some miracles. They say that he went to one of the heaven to teach the heavenly beings or gods. And this is the image the Buddha preached to the kings and monks in Ajanta cave. And he converted many local kings who serve as his supporters. And they can go back here. Here, there's many kingdom in Magadha, in Vaji, Mala, Kosala. So for most of the king around this era became his followers as followers. And basically he has 10 main disciples: Shariputra, a top master of wisdom; Mauryanna, the student who is foremost in sacred power; Mahakashipa is the foremost student in assisted training; Subhuti, he understood the emptiness principle; Puna, Maitreyan Putta, uh, was the red teacher of the law; uh, Katyayana, he understood the Buddha lecture the best; Aniruddha, he was the foremost student in sacred eyes; Upali is the former student in keeping the precept of discipline. Rahula was only son that Buddha has before he became Buddha, and he followed strict rules. And Ananda, and the one that could remember all of his teaching, all of the Buddha teaching. So that the 10 main students that the Buddha had. And here, when he came back to visit his kingdom, second kingdom, he performs what you call the miracles. On the bottom, he emits the water; on the top, he emits the light or the fire to subdue his clans, second clans, arrogant. And here is talk about the God created the path for the Buddha to walk to the heaven in one of the training retreat. He went to one heaven, the heaven of 32, to teach uh, his mothers. The one passed away 7 days after he was born. And when two country try to fight each other to get the water, so the Buddha perform these miracles so that they can pay attention and respect the Buddha teaching not to fight or to kill based on the compassion. And this is the scene that the Buddha tamed the drunk elephants that was released by Devadatta, and that's the Buddha cousin. Uh, so he tamed these drunk elephants with his compassionate mind. And here is one more time. He walked down from the heaven after 3 months legend the gods up there. So there's and this is a story that relate to how he subdued criminals that kill 999 people, and he tried to kill the Buddha as 1001, but due to the wisdom and virtue, so he could subdue and convert these criminals, and later on he became a Buddhist monk too. So this is the image, and this image that talk about how the Buddha took care of the sick monks. He emphasized how he uh, uh, um, uh, remind his student that they need to take care of the sick people companions. So here is the this pilgrimage site of the Buddhist historical site. Again, Lumini, that's where he was born. Bodh Gaya, that's where he attained enlightenment. Uh, um, Penance, or the deer park where he first gave the teaching, and the last place, the Kushinagar, where he passed away. And this is the same thing too. Okay, so this is the Indian map in general, and it's some story that relate to his former student, Murayana, the one who has second power. This story relate to how he used his second power to help his diseased mothers who was hungry-voice, but he could not help her out at all. You see, the hungry-voice has big belly and small throat. Whenever they consume the food, they would mm, uh, uh, be painful because the food would become the fire to burn their mouth, and that's why later on he went back to seek for the Buddha uh, blessing to bless his mothers, and eventually she was born in the heaven, and this is what about. Uh, so this is more many image and many story about the Buddhas, and at the age of 80 he passed away at the uh, in the forest, what they call the Twin Sala forest, peacefully. And 3 months after he passed away, Markishiba convened 500 arhats as the first Buddhist council to recite the Buddha teaching again orally. So again, um, Ananda memorized all of the Buddha teaching, and he was the one that decided the Buddha um, teaching again during that first Buddhist council. Um, and Opali, this was from here. This depicts how Venbu Ananda sat uh, uh, amongst those 500 arhat to decide the Buddha teaching, and Venbu Opali decide the uh, the books of discipline for the monk to follow, and later on they have um, divisions within Buddhism. This is 18 set, and we learn that later on. Okay, so that's the thing I want to share with you today. Let me stop here, and um, that's just the general information about the Last Buddha as well as the first Buddhist Council. Okay, see you then.